Hi, it's Sasha with Venus Wisdom, and I'm making this video to share with you all the ways that you can work with me. And this is a bit of a going out of business sale because I'm not going to continue to be doing Venus Wisdom in the way that I have, which is to be continuously promoting and marketing and looking for clients and all of that online effort because I'm finally saying uncle and recognizing that Venus Wisdom on the open market in the current online coaching forum, it's just not a match. It's something that is so sacred to me. It's 14 years of my life of developing this body of work through my lived experience. And the wisdom is so incredible, and I love to share it. But that continuous pressure to always be selling and getting new clients is just not working on any level. And I haven't been able to financially have the resources to make a living, as they say, for some time. So I guess you could say that I maybe would have been wise to let go of this before now, but I really was holding all the possibility of rebuilding Venus Wisdom. Now, this is a moment where I'm going to be coming to a culmination of offering Venus Wisdom, astrology in the way that I have been. But the most important thing I want you to hear from this, if you have been interested, if you wanted to connect with me, if you wanted to study deeply, that I will continue to do that work, just not in this format. So what I'm needing to do is shift out of this as my main source of income and trying to do all the work to make that happen. But if you really feel in your heart you're a woman who wants to understand the mechanics of the cycle, how it works, how you can sync with it, how it will help to amplify your own awakening, your own feminine wisdom. If you actually want to be a carrier of this wisdom to pass along, to master it enough that you could teach it, please be in touch with me because I'm interested in connecting with you, and I will continue to mentor women who are interested at that level. In the meantime, I'm going to be shifting my career, my day-to-day work into something else so that I have the capacity to do that, because I've gotten so many messages from life itself that it's not meant to be in this kind of spiritual coaching format. It just so much has changed in the online world. And it feels like a lot of the sacredness of our wisdom is really diluted by the current way that we have to grind out content all the time and know the algorithm and have all the funnels. And trust me, I invested everything I had in Venus Wisdom. I'm hundreds, well, not hundreds, tens of thousands of dollars in debt because of it. I've hired the coaches, I've done all the things. So I don't make this concession lightly, but there has been so many times when Venus Wisdom has been under attack, where my content has been taken, where there's been corruption. And so it feels like it's time to really shift. That all helped me to see the preciousness of it. When we bring our own feminine truth forward, it can create quite a bit of reaction in this world that is built on the inversion and the anti-life and the anti-feminine. So all that said, I wanted you to know, if you have been following Venus Wisdom closely, you've been having sessions with me especially since 2020, but even before that, and you've been in groups that I've had, and you've really felt a part of the magic. I am doing one final group called Venus Sisters, Harmonizing Amidst the Chaos, that starts August 15th. I'm pricing it to try to make it so accessible for the women that feel that call. So you can get the link on that and find out all about that. I just did a whole class on what that's about. So ask me. This video is for those of you that may not feel pulled to that and you want to connect with my work while I'm still available. And I am widely available in August and September and October. My hope is that there will be an increase in the amount of sessions so that I can do that work in this transition, because I was fired unexpectedly last week from my day job with no notice. And so there you have it. Just totally thrust in the unknown with what I'm doing, what I'm trying to create, I'm trying to rebuild my whole life after a year questing to try to find my community. That word, try. It was a hard one, but I have the faith. It's going to come together, and there is so much learning in this cycle. So for those of you that are like, oh, wait, she's not going to offer that anymore. I want to know how I can have, some of her wisdom, connect with some of her wisdom. I would hope that there be something for you, every one of you, something in your price range, something that you want to experience from me before I close out this chapter. So here's a link to my scheduling page. I don't even have a website anymore. That's how many layers of letting go that I have done in my business. That was my main source of income. That was my living since 2014 on some level, but then really full-time since 2020. And I'm in a big transition. If you want to hear more about that, listen to the class I just gave, the Venus Sisters group journey, and I share more about that. Okay, so on my scheduling page, if you want to talk about anything, collaborations, invite me to share Venus wisdom. This is something that I do hope to continue to do because so very few women that are working with the sacred feminine have been turned on in a significant way to the Venus cycle. Pretty much everything in the community, the spiritual community, is still calibrated to the new moon and the full moon. And so there is a huge shift in consciousness that happens when we start orienting to the original cycle of Venus, and to understand what that is and how that connects into all of the mythologies that we have that show us the architecture of transformation, from Inanna to Isis to Demeter and Persephone to even Jesus's story. So this is something I'm still passionate about. I do feel like any woman working with the sacred feminine, the Rose lineage, Mary Magdalene, needs to actually understand the mechanics of the Venus cycle, just like many women now understand the mechanics of the moon cycle, which is a 29-day cycle. And so that piece is really important. And I'm happy to come into your classes. I'm happy to come into your workshops. Just know this is not something that's going to be learned in an hour. It takes a bit of study. It takes a bit of time. If I can raise the resources, I plan to do a course so that I can just share that with women who are interested to go deeper. And that's been a challenging part of my journey, is because I have had housing insecurity for the past, 9 years, but really 3 years intensively. I've been in a lot of transition. I have not had the capacity to create the content that I've wanted to create. So talk to me, let's connect if you have a collaboration that you want to invite me into or want to have that time together. This is an offering called Secrets of Your Venus and Feminine Frequency that I just opened up because I have this book, Secret of Your Venus Sign. If you don't have that yet, I encourage you get that as a resource. There's so much that you can gain just from tuning into your Venus sign. One, prioritize it. Stop making that equal to everything else in your chart because that's overwhelming. Your Venus sign is your most important energetic to understand and to embody. It's the gateway to your Venus design, your larger, vaster dimensions of your Venus astrology, which I have 5 that I work with very specifically. So that is set to be affordable. It's an hour with me. After you identify your Venus sign, we dive in. So you can get some embodied experience and some help in understanding how does the energy live within you. How do you experience that energy? So it's not just concept, it's actually touching into your embodied wisdom. That is a super easy way to connect with my work and get your foot in the door to Syncing with Venus, as I call it. When you're ready to go deeper, this Activate Your Venus design is a 2-hour deep dive. We sit together for 90 minutes, then we have a 30-minute follow-up because there needs to be time to integrate And this really goes into all of those 5 dimensions of your Venus design, how they weave together to show you the qualities of your feminine wisdom, and really how it connects to the larger Venus cycle and how to start moving with that cycle. All of this art, by the way, is original art that I created, astro collages, or some of these pieces like this one are still from Shannon Stevens, who created the artwork for the calendar for the last cycle that I never was able to happen. But just know this is not AI, this is original artwork. So that's the activation follow-up, which comes with that at the price of $397. If you do decide to join us for Venus Sisters and you haven't had your activation of your Venus design, you will receive $100 off of this session, because you do need that to journey with us for the 3 months. So just know that. Then, if you've had sessions with me, if you've been activated, if you've studied with me, but you want to just have a deepening, you want to understand, how does this current Venus and Pisces cycle theme, how is that opening your purpose? What is that wisdom showing you as we come into culmination of the cycle? And then what will be the wisdom coming from the Venus and Libra cycle? We can really find that by looking at where these Venus stars land in your chart, what your personal design is, what your transits are. There is a lot of richness in having that deepening time. I encourage you, if you have a Venus and Pisces cycle and you're culminating, to book 3 deepening sessions with me, which will give you also a discount for the 3. Let's see where I'm going. There we go. So you're going to get a discount here. If you do a session, 3 sessions, they'll be $175 each. And you can go ahead and have that support individually for the next 3 months, the next 1 month. You can use up those 3 sessions as you wish, but definitely before the next 3 months. Okay, that's the deepening. For those of you that have already worked with me enough to have some sense of your Venus design, you've done some work on embodying that. If you have had work with me, but you haven't shifted into the sidereal and you're curious, what is your Venus design in the sidereal zodiac? Because the signs are going to change. The Venus star is going to change. This is your reorientation session. Again, I'm booking and creating these at a price point where I'm hoping that will inspire more of you to come and to lean in and to receive this wisdom before I'm less available. And every single woman who I've sat with in the sidereal zodiac and we've gone over her Venus design has had incredible clarity. Every single one, 100% more clarity. This makes so much sense. So I do recommend that. And then the Venus design summary is a really beautiful tool that I created for anyone who's had a Venus wisdom session and has had the 5 dimensions. It's a summary of those 5 dimensions. Now, if you get your Venus activation, this comes included with that. You will have received that if you've had that process with me. That's what we do in your half-hour follow-up. We're summarizing so that it's not my words, it's not my interpretation of those qualities of your signs and your astrology. It's yours. It's your embodied experience in a way that you can remember. I'm going to show you an example of that. But again, 45 minutes, pricing this so that those of you that haven't had that session but want to have that summary so that you can remember these qualities and contemplate them. That's the most important thing. This is a living inquiry into the truth of who you are. It's not a one and done experience. It doesn't really work to just go get a reading. And sometimes I ask women about their design and they're like, I don't know, I don't have the chart in front of me. So this is the way to get it in your body. One of the ways is you have that summary and you're really contemplating it and considering it. Okay, so this is an example as if this was my design. This is not actually all of my design and my words. I just am using this as an example, but this is what it will look like. And you have a very unique heroine statement, which will be a part of your contemplation. And that will be in there. Really recommend that you're saying that in front of the mirror. You are affirming yourself in these qualities that you hold that bring you into your feminine spirit. bring you closer to your connection to God, to source, to the mystery, to the mother, whatever energy feels to you like the word you would use to describe that original creator source of love. This is powerful to be saying this statement and to know what those qualities are, because they're going to depend what sign this is actually the sign, the Venus cycle, and the phase are all embedded in that statement. You're going to have all of the information about your Venus sign. Again, this isn't mine. And your own experience of that. So the Venus sign, the second one is the sun, which is our fuel, your words, your way of thinking about that. Your Venus star cycle, whatever the energy was of the sign that Venus and sun met in before you were born, that's the third dimension there. Your experience of that from our session will be noted. And then the Venus phase is the part of the cycle of the 19 months that you were born into. This is so much about how you move with your mission. And then the elemental combo is whatever the sign energy of the cycle is holding the sign energy of the sign, the zodiac energy of the sign. So then you also have that elemental combo, which is the fifth dimension. So those are a lot of ways to lean in and experience Venus wisdom in the month of August into the month of September. We're going into eclipse time. So it's a very powerful stretch. This end of one cycle, beginning of a new cycle in October, and eclipse season right now is bringing us into that culmination. And it's the Venus work. Venus is the golden key to the age of Aquarius. When we focus on those qualities of life, nurturance, fertility, creativity, connection, bonding, art, beauty, care, that's the world that we want. So Venus is the key, not just in her sign, but in her cycle and in her rhythm with the sun. Venus is the golden key, and she shows us how to stay centered in the storm, centered in our heart, supported by our creation of our womb from below, and inspired by the mental processes from above, the heart. She helps us to stay centered there so we can move through these apocalyptic times and stay on mission and remember our preciousness and remember our gifts. And I have been through it, this cycle. I have been through it. And yet this beautiful, beautiful way of moving with Venus has helped me to remember again and again that no matter how the external feels like it's failing and falling apart, and I'm so undone, that there is this other way that's becoming known. There is something beautiful being born. There is this faith that is kept alive as we move through this dark time, which is all about letting go. It's all about being undone. If you've been undone since March 22nd, 2025, you are syncing with Venus, because this cycle is a huge washing away, a huge surrender, a huge release, beyond. It feels like other times when we've needed to do that. It's so big and so deep, but there's that faith that the beauty is coming, and we're not letting go in order to get to the beauty. We're letting go to be in alignment with what this moment is asking. So I encourage you to lean in and help support me in this time of transition as well. I've given everything into Venus wisdom to support myself and my daughter. And it's a big shift to be looking at retraining and what other jobs that I could do. But I will keep this alive with those of you that feel that you want to keep tuning into it. And if there's any apprentices out there that really want to go deep, really learn this and pass it on to the next generation, I've always felt like this is really for our daughters. This is really for Gen Z, and that I don't yet have a way to pass that along to those younger women. So if you feel it, just reach out. Do not hesitate. And I'd love to connect. Okay. Blessings on your journey as we move through this turbulent time. And I hope that my work, whether you read it or come to classes or however you've been engaged, I hope it's been supportive. And I would love to deepen whatever you've received. I'd love to deepen it one level before I move off the scene. Blessings.